I went down and I bought 2 pounds of shrimp from a dock, took the digestive tracts out, sent them to the lab. Came back as 193 parts per million of organic matter as hydrocarbons. So we posted the results. The next day I was able to get on a press call with Admiral Zakou. He was talking about how we have to aggressively market the seafood and how we have an image problem and how it's the most tested seafood in the world. And I got the first question, which was awesome. So I said, hey, we got this 193 parts per million back. Can you comment on it? And he said he'd not heard of that and he would refer it to his environmental unit. And he said, you know, he had just seen it with his own eyes and that the veins were taken out when he was at the lab in Pascagoula, which was news to me, which makes this all the more important if that's true. Within 36 hours, I got a letter from Unified Command saying that that test result was likely biogenic lipids, which is natural occurring fat in shrimp. So I think environmental unit actually equals public affairs office, because that's the only people I've heard back from. But we just got the results this week. I took that same batch of shrimp and made a shrimp stock like I've done a million times before with the heads and the shells. And we just got the results back, and while it didn't show any PAHs, what it did have was a fingerprint match to the Macondo well. Woo! So if that oil isn't in the poop, it's somewhere, which they don't know about yet. We hope to get that word to them. I believe it's in the digestive tracts. We're going to continue to test. We luckily got a hold of some clean shrimp so we can test against that and prove them wrong. I wish we were proven wrong. But again, our group is NOLA Emergency Rescue. We're planning shrimp testing at 10 locations, mostly Louisiana. We have Florida, Mississippi, Alabama as well. So if you want to throw money at me for this, that'd be awesome. I have some bracelets over there I can sell you. But we need funding. These tests are expensive, like probably $500 a pop to do all that we want to do. And the shrimp stock, I will tell you, at the bottom of this pot was a greasy sludge that I could not get off my hands. So make your own decisions about that.
This started about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I started having abdominal pain. And it was after, I noticed it was after I would get home from walking the beach and doing my pictures and my videos. And one night I just had pain. It felt like somebody was just taking a knife and sticking it in and pulling it out and sticking it in and pulling it out and twisting it sometimes in between. And I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror, and that's when I noticed that my stomach was all, you know, red. Like, I wouldn't call it a rash. I would call it, you know, like bleeding under the skin. I did not eat anything. I have not touched seafood since the beginning of the oil spill. I did not eat anything. I hadn't eaten anything when this started. The only time that it gets worse is after I have been out on the beach. You know, that's the only thing I can attribute it to. And now I'm going to a doctor finally this coming Monday, and I'm going to try and get to the bottom of it and find out what it is. But it feels very much like bleeding under the skin.
The first time I went to the doctor was on June 2nd. I was almost in pneumonia. I was having headaches, sore throat, runny eyes. I was having nausea, all the problems you hear about. And the doctor put me on antibiotics. Well, 3 trips later, I'm still dealing with the antibiotics and the bronchitis. Every time I leave here and go to Baton Rouge, and I stay a week or 2, it clears up. I come back down here, you can hear my voice. This is toxic. We are living in a toxic dump. I will never be able to walk on that beach again for my health. I can go out there right now, bring anybody out there, dig down 12 inches, guess what you're going to find? That oil is still toxic. It is not weathered. People, we are one nation under one flag, and we have rights. And I'll be damned if they're going to make me shut up, and I'll be damned if I stand down. Don't let them lie to you. This is not a Republican thing. This is not a Democratic thing. This is a human life situation. You have rights. I went to the doctor. They found chemicals in my blood. Okay? I have been sick. All I could do was walk on my porch. That's all I could do. I go sit on my porch, drink my coffee, and I have chemicals in my blood. So those of you that have worked out there, or that work out in this air every single day, guess what? So do you.
We've been continuously sick. My 10-year-old has not been able to go outside and play since the end of April. We have people that we're working with, independent labs that have went out and done their testing, all which have come back positive for disbursements in oil. They're still spraying on our beach. They're still spraying in our waters. But yet when you go to these recoveries that they're supposed to be owning up to what's going on, they're denying that it's happening. When you tell them your findings and you hand them a CD that has the proof of what's happening, we have no beach left. It's gone. It's left. In 2 months, we have no beach. And it's because BP's oil went up there and it killed all our marshes. And now our beach is gone. We're crabbers. We know that's not normal to have black lung crabs. But they're telling us it's normal. That's the way they come off the silt bottom. My husband's been doing this for 30 years. We have never seen anything like it. Parasites inside of their lungs eating them alive. And they're saying it's safe to eat? No. Well, we went and we put 10 crab pots out for 27 hours and went and pulled our crab pots and had 11 crabs. There are no crabs. Because our crabs come directly out of the Gulf, just like your alls do. They say the research lab tested positive for oil droplets in the crabs, and I asked them what happened to the crab larva that you have that had the oil droplets in it. They won't answer us. All we want is answers. You know, BP's going to pay for what? How long? So we don't crab this season, we go back next season, there's some crabs, and then all of a sudden after 3 seasons there's nothing left. And this is our livelihoods. But you have some idiot up there in Jackson, Mississippi, Haley Barber, that's bought by the big oil companies, that won't let anything be said that there's something wrong. All I know is I'm tired, I'm sick of being sick.
Amen. Thank you. I live on the beach. I moved here just a little over a year and a half ago. I'm a retired registered nurse. I bought my property 30 years ago. It was my dream. April the 20th, my birthday, my dream died. And I'm grieving for myself and for the people of this island and everyone along the coast, because we have all been so grievously wounded. And we have a company that lies and can't wait to haul ass. And they will leave us behind sick and dying. People are getting sick every day. I've watched that plant spit some kind of mist, and when the wind blows in the right direction, it blows it towards the school. I'm 63. I won't live a whole lot longer. But what about these children? And what about the people who want to eat what used to be the best seafood in the world? Believe BP, it's safe. Believe BP, it's all right. The oil is gone.
How stupid do they think we are? And so I started going to every meeting I possibly could, and I kept asking questions, and I kept going against what they were telling me because I knew it wasn't true. It was impossible. I mean, I was doing the research, and I knew. And so I asked so many questions. They invited me over to Unified Command Center over in Shreveport, Louisiana, and they brought all the scientists to the table to answer my questions. And while I was there, there were a lot of things. One thing that I realized was that NOAA, EPA, FDA were all in bed with BP. That was the thing that I really walked away with, was that we really didn't stand a chance going one-on-one with them, that we had to pull together as a team and really, you know, get America to wake up. And in that, they were trying to tell me that the dipropylene glycol butyl ether that's in the Corexit 9500 was like dish soap. Well, bottom line is, folks, and I went back and forth with them, it's not. Dipropylene glycol butyl ether kills 50% of the fish when they're tested. And they had created this little chart and used some little household products, and they were going to different meetings showing this to people. And in the household products, they had a Klondike bar, right? So they have this Klondike bar, and what they're using this for is to mislead you into believing that this stuff is safe. It will not harm you. Well, there is one very unharmful ingredient that's in Corexit that's also in the Klondike bar. But you see, the average person is not going to take the time to look into it and see that the dipropylene glycol butyl ether is poison. It is absolute poison, you know, as well as so many other things. And there are so many chemicals in this that we're being affected by. Okay, I've got this is a document, and they, you know, the government knew this. The government knew how toxic all of these things were going to be, and they also knew how toxic Corexit was going to be, and I'll tell you why and how they know. Because I've got Organic Solvent Neurotoxicity by NIOSH. It says here that these effects include disorders characterized by reversible subjective symptoms, fatigability, irritability, and memory impairment, sustained changes in personality or mood, emotional instability, and diminished impulse control and motivation, and impaired intellectual function, decreased concentration ability, memory, and learning ability. Now, what we've learned about these things is that they do bioaccumulate into your system. So this being reversed thing, it depends on how much our children are breathing in. As I was coming down over the toll bridge, I was perfectly healthy, everything was fine, never had problems with my lungs. Came over the toll bridge, and the air in my vehicle changed. It got really, really weird. And then it started attacking my mucous membranes in my nose, my throat, my voice got immediately hoarse. It felt like I had just licked the post of 9-volt battery. So I continued on, got down there, told them what I felt like, what was going on with the physical thing that was happening. And as I sat down with this town's people, you know, the first thing you say is, hey, how are you doing today? And they were telling me, I'm not feeling good today, man. I feel like I've got pneumonia. I've got this, I've got that, I've got all these things going on, you know? And so I was like, you know, well, I do too. What is going on? There's something in the air. So I stayed here for a few days doing what I had to do, went back home, and on September 2nd, I got asked to come back. When I came back, the same thing happened. Now, by this time, I'd already been diagnosed with pneumonitis. If anybody knows what pneumonitis is, it's pneumonia. I mean, it's not pneumonia, because pneumonia is an infection. Pneumonitis is inhalation of chemicals in your lungs, and what it does is it burns your lungs, the lining of your lungs. So I went on down to Chenier here, and I got an air quality test. And on the same day that I got my diagnosis from the doctor of, actually it was, yeah, that morning, I got the pneumonitis. Later that evening, actually, I got the call from Ann saying that they had found 2 chemicals in the air that were above EPA safety standard. One of them was toluene and the other was acrylonitrile, which is really curious about and the acrylonitrile was 3 times EPA safety standard. So this is what the babies in this community are breathing. My friend Mac McKenzie was talking about the seafood a while ago, right? Right. We know the proof is in the poop. You know, they're testing the flesh, but we don't cook that way. The proof is in the poop.
How many babies are eating that crap? Okay? So we're teaching our children and our grandchildren, we're not eating seafood because it's better to be safe than sorry, right? So what does BP and NOAA do? They come into our schools, Oak Lawn Junior High and Terrebonne Parish, with NOAA, giving out caps and pins, teaching the children an oil spill lesson on this is what happens for an oil spill. They've never done this before now. You know, and they targeted our children. They couldn't convince the adults, so they targeted our children. I mean, come on guys, how low can you go? You know, and I resent the fact that they're going to come into my schools and teach my children, my grandchildren, because they're in 8th grade, because the plan was to go into all of the 8th grade classes right along the coast and teach the children what? That the seafood is safe. No matter what your parents say, no matter what your grandparents say, the seafood is safe. And if you get a question right, BP is going to give your kid a cap or a hat. What I haven't said yes is before BP and NOAA went into our schools, I was told by an inside entity in the school system, in my Terrebonne Parish school system, that BP had just given Terrebonne Parish school system $50,000. Yay! So guess what, guys? They bought their way into our schools, or they thought so. But you know what? Bottom line is over my dead body. You will not. They will not come and preach their propaganda to my babies. I want my I might not be able to. Well, I'm going to win this battle somehow. In the event I should die before I do it, my babies will know that their granny fought with everything she had.
Mobile broadcast news.
I wish we were proven wrong. But again, our group is NOLA Emergency Rescue. We're planning shrimp testing at 10 locations, mostly Louisiana. We have Florida, Mississippi, Alabama as well. So if you want to throw money at me for this, that'd be awesome. I have some bracelets over there I can sell you. But we need funding. These tests are expensive. Like probably 5 heads in the shelves. And we just got the results back, and while it didn't show any PAHs, what it did have was a fingerprint match to the Macondo well. Woo! So if that oil isn't in the poop, it's somewhere. Which they don't know about yet. We hope to get that word to them. I believe it's in the digestive tract. We're going to continue to test. We luckily got a hold of some clean shrimp so we can test against that and prove them wrong. I went down and I bought 2 pounds of shrimp from a dock, took the digestive tracts out, sent them to the lab. Came back as 193 parts per million of organic matter as hydrocarbons. So we posted the results. The next day I was able to get on a press call with Admiral Zakou. He was talking about how we have to aggressively market the seafood and how we have an image problem and how it's the most tested seafood in the world. I got a letter from Unified Command saying that that test result was likely biogenic lipids, which is natural occurring fat in shrimp. So I think environmental unit actually equals public affairs office, because that's the only people I've heard back from. But we just got the results this week. I took that same batch of shrimp and made a shrimp stock like I've done a million times before with the head, and I got the first question, which was awesome. So I said, hey, we got this 193 parts per million back. Can you comment on it? And he said he'd not heard of that, and he would refer it to his environmental unit. And he said, you know, he had just seen it with his own eyes, and that the veins were taken out when he was at the lab in Pascagoula, which was news to me, which makes this all the more important if that's true. Within 36 hours,